Okay, welcome to Entering the Matrix, and this is the first one of 2026, Nikolai.
Yeah, the cycle one. We were just discussing how 2025, if you add all the numbers, is 9, 2026 is 10, which is basically 1. And this is a beginning of a new cycle, at least in Matrix V5.
And that is where I'm going to first in our round of questions.
Let's
Because,
do it.
and I know you were just talking about this right before we hit record. That's why I was like, oh, okay, let's hit the button.
Hold the question.
Hold the questions, everybody. Hold the
Yeah.
questions. Yeah, because I wanted to know, like, what is the significance of a new yearly cycle, and does the Matrix energetically shift anything for us? And even you were just talking about it, so I'd like to go into depth on that. What does 2026 symbolize, if anything?
Well, number one, it's funny. A bunch of people, of course, would message me with Merry Christmas or Happy New Year
I was one
messages.
of them.
Yeah. And my response was, hey, none of those are real holidays. They're fake. They're invented.
Mhm.
Like the December 31st to 1st is like basically if you look, well, first of all, right now Matrix V5 is operating on a Roman calendar, which was set up what in 1200s or something like that, and was really designed. The new year was designed around tax collection. So basically, what people are celebrating are being slaves to tax collecting system, a parasitic system. So hence my response was, hey, thanks for kind words. If you're looking to a history, it's not really a holiday you want to be celebrating. If we take the religious holidays, well, today is Russian Orthodox Christmas.
Yeah.
December 24th, 5th is the Catholic. And it's funny. People are joking on there are memes on Instagram about how Jesus has 2 birthdays. That should be an indication that this is also an invented day, an invented holiday. So it's all fake. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all that is fake. The names of the months, it's hilarious. Like uh, July, named based on Julius Caesar. August, Augustus. It was all about power, politics, and then the rest of the month. September is what is it? September in Roman is 8, which whereas it's a ninth month. October, Octa is 9 or something like that. So it's shifted. It's even that is messed up. So basically, where I'm going with this, there were so many systems that were put out there to desynchronize a person with natural cycles. And the less we're synchronized with natural cycles, the less power we have. So we become weaker because then we're out of, when somebody is out of a sync with something, we're losing energy. So and that's a very important thing and interesting thing that I observed when I gave people that response. It's not a real holiday. Actually, a substantial percentage of them was like, "Wow, interesting." Intuitively, I kind of stopped celebrating it for the past couple of years. So where I'm going with this, Matrix 5 is losing energy, and it's losing this grasp on people that were holding people in these cycles or systems that are not natural. I'll give you an example. Uh, Big thing that I dealt with personally over the past few years was going from Sunday to Monday. So it was so deeply ingrained in me that Saturday and Sunday was the time to rest. And as soon as Monday was coming up, would start having a bunch of anxiety. And then I dealt with anxiety. The reason I had anxiety because when I was running my last business, Mondays were rough. When you have like close to 200 people in the company and in a rapidly growing company, it was every Monday was a fucking stress. So
Mhm.
first I had to deal with that. But then what was interesting, I dealt with my anxiety and I was like, oh, okay, Monday. And then I would get into the field because there is a collective field of thoughts and emotions of all the people. And by the way, one of the reasons, side note, why I live kind of above right now, I live like above the city. You can't even call it a city, 20,000 people, but I'm 200 meters above because this way I'm avoiding being in a mental and emotional field of the people. And the reason it's important Because when you're in the field, in a collective field, I realized, because previously I was living in a different spot when I was living in Kotor, I was like right among all the other buildings. I would get to Monday and I would be like, I literally had nothing to do, because it was just like, I can do whatever. My schedule is whatever, but I would get like revved up. Oh, I have to do something. So I'd create illusionary activities because it's Monday, because everybody went to work and everybody has a program. It's Monday. I got to do some activities. And that's how majority of population on Monday does shit. And most of that shit is irrelevant. So let's come back to, um, those are basically inorganic, unnatural cycles. Whereas a natural cycle is, I wake up, creative energy is flowing, and I want to work. We were discussing, we were going to be publishing a new website with updated services and etc. I wake up, I don't care. It's Saturday, Sunday. On New Year's Eve, people were messaging me. I was like, hey, what are you up to? And it's like, for me, what is it? It was on Tuesday, I think. For me, it's a regular, I don't even say Tuesday. It's a regular day, because I don't want to also be tied to the construct of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because those are fake. They don't align with, first of all, with general energetic flow on the planet, and then inner flow of energy internally, inner cycles. So the whole idea, the more we can disconnect from those unnatural cycles and just be like, you know what? I feel like right now watching Netflix for 3 days. Go fucking watch Netflix for 3 days. It doesn't matter. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then you're gonna get the energy you needed and the rest or whatever you needed by watching Netflix, and then things happen just because you're aligning with natural cycles, not only internal, but you're intuitively aligning also with external cycles and bringing that, tying it with external cycles. We were just discussing the real new year is December 21st on solstice. The day stops declining, this day stops increasing. There's another kind of, I guess, misinformation floating around, that the real beginning of the new year is on the not the solstice. What's the one in April, March, whatever that one is called? It's like halfway between the other solstice.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one that
Yeah,
one
I'm
is.
like not great with all these terms, but
Yeah.
everybody gets it, right? People were saying that's the beginning, because that's when the good season, the planting the all the seeds and etc. in agriculture comes. In reality, no, because people misunderstand the beginning of the cycle. The beginning of the cycle is the energy of preparation. So right now, December 21st, the real new year for the natural cycle began, but we're still in preparatory type of energies, where energies are slowly increasing. Up till December 21st, we were wrapping up the previous cycle. It was usually the past few months integration. And I think this year, a lot of people have really felt it, because like we work with a bunch of people and a bunch of friends I chat with. People were like, what the fuck is going on? I'm in a laundry cycle, in a very rough one. And that was integration. Now we're in a prep and a go mode. And like, then the energy really kicks in around March and April and etc. And this is an example of natural cycles. So, and then of course we can add all types of other cycles, which and there is a saying, right? Millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. Uh,
I haven't
and
heard
it's,
that one.
and I think that's actually was either Rockefeller or Rothschild said that.
Wow.
Yeah, because they understood there are major planetary and cosmic cycles. So I've just spoken about the natural cycle here. Well, it's also cosmic cycle. It's a sun and a planet, right? In decline of the sunlight and increase of the sunlight. But then you got to start throwing in all the other planets that are infecting us energetically. Just before this call, I was reading about what was it? I think Saturn. We were in a period of Saturn. Now we're shifting into a period of Rahu, and I've dealt with like all types of astrology, modalities of astrology, and all that stuff really works. But I'm not the expert, hence I'm gonna probably butcher some terms. And the Rahu energy is it's kind of like similar to the energy of the fire in a Chinese calendar in September. What is it? Not September, February 14th or 16th.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna shift into Chinese New Year of a fire horse. And well, by the way, Chinese New Year, that's, I would say, a real holiday, because it's aligned with natural cycles, because it's aligned with major shifts and naturally aligned with major shifts of energy based on the cosmic bodies like planets, stars, and etc. So we're in Chinese calendar, we're wrapping up a year of wood snake or wooden snake, and snake is all about transformation, shedding the old, shedding the skin, and that's why this year has been so challenging for many people. We're entering the year of fire horse, and of course all these are like metaphorical names, but they're indicative of the energy we're going to get to. And horse wants to run, horse wants to move and expand, and the fire horse, the fire element adds, if something stands in the way of moving, running, expanding, evolving, it's just gonna burn through fucking stuff that is in the way. So the people who were doing the work the past few years will be collecting all the benefits entering that year, because they've done enough work where the horse will not kick the shit out of them or burn the shit out of them with the fire. With that said, there still probably will be things that will be burned through, but they will not be rattled or destabilized as much. And the people who haven't done the work, well, they're in for a surprise. With that said, and now tying it back to that Rahu energy is very similar. Rahu energy wants to discover, expand, move, and it's going to be really inwardly discovery. It's like everything that worked up till then, up till this, well, now that this energy kicking in, people will wake up and be like, I don't like this job and career anymore. I don't see continuing building my family this way anymore. So New Year, that's not a real holiday. So we're actually going through this, all these paradigms. The Rahu energy is just completely washing them away, because Rahu is all about transformation, very like quantum leap, drastic transformation. So all these old constructs and systems are basically dropping off. And even if we look at a news cycle, while old systems are starting, well, they were already falling apart. Like, come on, Trump flying into Venezuela, picking up a president and being like, fuck you guys, I'm just gonna take oil. At least previously they put on a good show, like really put a facade. Now it's like,
we're
we don't
going
give a
into
shit.
that. That's a little further down the list,
Okay.
but that is coming, because that goes into what I wanted to talk about as well. But one thing I wanted to ask you quickly, since we're on the topic of Chinese New Year and these different energies,
Yeah.
I remember one online numerologist speaking about the Chinese New Year and how you would get an energetic, I guess, push or shift if, for example, like you said, it was like the year of the snake. So if you were born in the year of the snake,
Yep.
there was an energetic kind of push that you would get.
It's your energy, basically. It's natural to
do
you.
you feel that is true, or how does the energetics of the Chinese New Year and the year that you were born sort of shape your existence in the Matrix?
So I'm not as deeply educated on the topic, but what she's saying kind of aligns. If you're born in that energy, that means that energy is more natural to you. So like going into that energy will feel like you're stepping into your superpowers, because you feel like at home, So that kind of logically it makes sense, and intuitively it makes sense. One thing I wanted to also like add and just kind of, I guess, tie all these pieces together about celebrations and holidays, either it's Matrix V5. Oh, one more thing to add. 31st December, there is still major shift. I shouldn't say major shift. There is shift of energies on 31st to 1st, December 31st to 1st, even though it's not a natural cycle, because this calendar was invented, this Gregorian calendar, Roman Gregorian calendar, is an egregor. And since it has been subscribed by most of the population, subscribed to by most population on the planet, it was given, this energetic structure was given a lot of energy. Hence, it has influence on people in Matrix V5. It will not exist, this calendar will not exist in Matrix V6, because Matrix V6 is all about alignment of natural cycles, inner cycle and cosmic cycles, or planetary cycles. So on December 31st to 1st, the way I responded to my friends, happy new energies. Yes, new energies have kicked in because the new year 2026 brings different type of energy, and because it's such a powerful egregor, it does influence people in matrix v5. Since I'm still 1 foot in v5 and 1 foot in v6, I do experience the change, since a lot of my life is in social matrix, interacting with people who are predominantly in v5. I
Uh-huh.
experience that energetic change through them. So yes, there is that change. So I'm not, but it's not a holiday to celebrate. And to bring it further, where the trap was, I think briefly we've chatted in some previous episodes about this whole general, we call it gray field, that has been took control of most of our energy.
Uh-huh.
The way that gray field operated, it said, you have to seek happiness, joy, love, etc. externally, even though it's all within. It just, the construct flipped in our subconscious. Now the construct is flipping back, everything within us. And the way holidays matter, one of the aspects they added, they said, you have to fucking suffer so that then you can celebrate when we give you permission. We're going to invent holidays when you can celebrate and relax. And here's 10 days in a year where you're allowed to be happy. The
Oh.
rest, you gotta suffer. Monday, Friday, suffering time. Saturday, Sunday, many celebrations of not suffering. And then we give you New Year's, and then we give you Family Day, and we give you whatever bullshit day. Now you're allowed to be happy. The reason it's also so important to unsubscribe from that bullshit, every day is a holiday. And hence, when you really start living that way, and what I mean by every day is a holiday, the only job you have in this life is wake up and ask yourself, what would make me happy now? What kind of activity, what kind of creativity? Maybe there's no activity, just staying in bed. And that's the only thing that matters. When you start living that way, every day becomes a holiday. And now I've been living that way. I've been striving for that for the past 5 years, but I'd say, if I'm honest, I'd really 70 to 80% living that way for the past year. Hence, leading up to all these holiday season, I was like, I didn't even feel that it's a holiday, because it's like a regular day, because every day for me is a holiday, because I wake up and do what gives me most energy, most joy, most happiness. So now I get to this day, December 31st, and everybody's creating this illusionary scenery and etc. celebration, and I'm like, what's going on? Oh, because they've been suffering the whole fucking year. They want to celebrate. I wasn't suffering the whole year. I was like, my previous day, the day before, the day before, the day before was as joyous as today. And and then what also happens, because of this illusionary happiness illusion, it is illusionary happiness because it's not real, because they said you can celebrate on December 31st. People put out all these energy back into this fucking egregor, feeding it more energy because they're celebrating it. So now not only you've already suffered, the time it came to celebrate, you're celebrating by giving away energy to that external holiday, because you're celebrating the holiday versus celebrating your life, versus celebrating you, versus celebrating nature, God, or the source, or the absolute, the creator, and etc. So, which is when you're celebrating the creator, the God, you're celebrating yourself, because you're basically a particle of that. So
Yeah.
when you celebrate 31st or the Christmas, you're like, hey, Vatican, here, take some of my energy. Hey, Matrix V5 and the Gregorian calendar, take some of my energy. So bringing back to just align with your internal intuition. And it's difficult in the beginning, but step at a time, people are aligning with natural cycles, and the life becomes more joyful, easy, and things become effortless.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted you to talk about, because we've touched on this a little bit as we've been going around. It's always how it goes. I get all these questions, and then somehow we're on the same page, like intuitively, and they go through.
Well, that's how collective field works, right? And just a side note. So, and this is beautiful, because previous version of collective field, suffer Monday to Friday and etc.
Mhm.
And the new version is like, nah, I'm not into it. And slowly it's shifting. And our collective field, yours and mine, is closer. And hence we're thinking about similar things, we want to discuss similar things, and etc. And that's how the whole collective is shifting now.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, and you may have kind of touched on this, but I do want to see if there's anything new that pops out. Like, are there any seasonal energies that you've mapped that might be useful for people to consider? Like, for example, are there naturally times of the year where certain things have more possibility, right? Like, where even from a numerology perspective, that there are days where you might have a greater chance of success if you were starting a business, or greater success with your relationship if you were getting married, anything like this, where you've been able to see, like, okay, like from that natural cycle perspective, here are either the days or these are the sections of time where things are more possible or less possible because that's just what the matrix is allowing to be so, versus
Thousand, mhm.
versus what you and me are like, no, like maybe some people are like, I'm getting married October 1st, and maybe they should have done it May 1st,
Yeah.
and that affects something. I don't know. These are questions I have.
100%, 1000% in effect. So first of all, everything related to the Gregorian calendar, it's going to stay in V5 matrix. It's going to be irrelevant as we transition, but it still has, as we discussed, heavy influence on people. So picking those dates is important. And by the way, when we were registering businesses and we have instruments, we would pick a very specific day for the registration to happen on, because it charges the business egregor or business energetic container with specific energies that are constructive and positive specifically for business and the type of business we're doing. So that is definite. Yes, where we're shifting. So that's going to dissipate though, but we're shifting more towards natural planetary cosmic cycles that are better described by astrology. And there are types of numerology that describe that as well. And I'll include here a couple links in the description. I was just catching up with my friend who lives in Bali, and he he designed a system to help people align with energies of the day. But the important caveat um, is that for everyone, the energy of the day is different, because Mitch's cocktail of energies is unique comparing to Nikolai. So today I experience somewhat different energies than you're experiencing, because we're like a prism, right? And we have different angles in our facets. And as the light shines, it produces different type of energy. So that's why it's quite individual. Yes, what I'm describing, the wood snake or fire horse, that's a broad energy that comes to the planet. The way I will experience this and the way you will experience will be somewhat different. Broadly, they were similar because it's like a grand overall energy. But then you get even more and more granular, where there are other types of energies that influence us. I mentioned Rahu. I will experience Rahu in a specific way because Rahu, I'm predispositioned to that energy. It's my energy. I know how to, it's like surfing. I know how to surf that wave, you know? For other people, it will be super fucking frustrating. And so where I'm going with that, I highly recommend at early stages using external tools like astrological calendars. So my friend designed that one based on Jyotish, which is Indian Vedic astrology. There's also Western astrology. There's so many different types of astrology. When I tune into it, it's at early and mid stages of journey, the quality is pretty good. Ultimately, where you want to get to is not to use any of that. Just use the only question: what would make me happy now? That's, but in the beginning, the mind is scared, right? So, for example, there could be a day, today you shouldn't do any kind of work because it's just gonna go to shit. But the mind is like, it's Wednesday and I've already scheduled the call, you know? And then there's like, then the astrological calendar will say, well, today is a day to fully focus on health. So then you go to a spa, sauna, or, you know, you do Pilates, yoga, whatever it is. Those are those energies. Ultimately, everyone should run on their internal intuition. And so, for example, like my journey, by the time I got exposed to those instruments, I've already kind of synchronized quite well through meditations and yoga and etc. with my intuition. Hence, when I was shown those instruments and I was given breakdown for my whole next few months and whatever, I've done it for a couple of days and I'm like, this is more confusing to me. It's easier because then I have to interpret the interpretation because it also has to be interpreted, right? Today is a health day. What does it mean? Uh, Hardcore workout or a spa, right? You also got to
Yeah.
fill into that. So it can be misinterpreted. So I was like, you know what, scrap this. I'm just going to follow my intuition. I understand and I know that it works because I've tried it. And I just go back to my intuition. So my recommendation when using those instruments, use them as cues, not as directives. And don't turn them into a crutch without which you cannot walk. Use them as like, for example, another important cycle, moon cycle. There's 13 moon months in a year. That's also more natural to live by those months than by 12 months that we live by. And because when it's new moon, there is less energy. There are ideas that are being born. The more light there is, the more energy there is. And moon energy is all about is basically what manages material on this planet. So if you want to build something in material, it is important to be aligned with those cycles. And then end of the moon cycle, you shouldn't start anything because there's no energy. So if you're gonna try to start a new project at the end of the moon cycle, it's just gonna go nowhere because there's no energy charge. So and there's so many examples of that. So that's actually the cycle that I intuitively use the most. And it's super simple. You can install. There is a moon calendar, MoonX. There's so many apps, and they're great. What they say for the day is kind of okayish. Uh, Maybe some apps do it better, the interpretations of the day, but it
Mhm.
helped me in the beginning because what would happen, my mind would be, what the fuck? I'm sitting on Thursday and I'm not like doing anything I should be doing. We have this project to wrap up, and I was like, oh, today is a day not to do anything. Today is a day to relax. So I seeked permission outside from this fucking moon calendar app to give myself permission to relax. But that's how I developed faith because I relaxed. And then the next day I was like, whoa, I'm super energized. And whatever I was trying to force myself to do, I get it done in an hour. And I thought that would be like multi-day project. So that's why it is so important to align with these external and inner energies. At the end of the day, they're not really external and inner. They're all the same because we exist as part of one per se. But it's easier for the mind to understand. There are big cosmic energies, planetary energies, and there are our internal because our prism receives them and understands them in a unique way.
Yeah, talk to me more about, the moon energy. Here's why, funny enough, right? So, as I told you before we started recording, I recently got engaged to my long-term girlfriend, and, of course, seeing as she loves astrology, she loves
Yeah.
all these things, she was noticing, okay, it was her birthday, but it was also full moon that day too.
Mm.
So she was like, and then something about Jupiter being in alignment, she was like, all
Yeah.
these things on this single day. But if we're going back to just different energies of the moon, because obviously,
Yeah.
like I do understand, I think all the waves of the ocean have to do with some sort of energy that's coming from the moon. I believe that that's
Yeah.
actually what
Tides. Yeah. The tides
deals with
are
the
more.
tides.
Yeah.
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 What else is going on with the moon that makes our existence here different in some fashion?
Well, there are many things, and once again, I'm not an expert. I used it as a amateur user per se when I was going through my journey to help me develop faith of
Hmm.
trusting my intuition. But like another example, when it's full moon, 2 days, usually 2 days before and 2 days after full moon, the energy is so strong. Everything that's hidden has to come to the surface.
Mm.
So for me, they were very emotionally intense days. That's why they say the werewolves come out. In reality, it's just your subconscious comes out because there's kind of more light that goes to the darker parts of us. So that I experienced consistently and extensively up to a specific point. But then I didn't need the moon to do the work. I was like, I just want to see those layers. I don't need to wait for the next full moon. Show it to me whenever I'm ready. So then it became less aligned. Whereas, so basically, what happens, the less conscious we are, the more the external cycles do the work. And either you want it or not, you're going to go through the laundry machine or through whatever machine or through whatever cycle. And the more conscious we become, the more we start initiating things. Uh, and the more active we get involved in the process. With that said, the key is not also get into a trap. Oh, like now I'm conscious, now I run all the cycles. No. If you're truly aligned, you'll actually wait for a cycle rather than pumping your own energy. So that becomes easier. So, for example, I was sharing with you right before the call. Like, for example, we knew what we wanted to put on a website back in September with all this. We've discussed the new services, the new approach to the way we're going to provide services back around September, if not August, but the energy wasn't there to do any of that. I could have forced myself that. I already knew, like we've already discussed, we've aligned, we've internally felt that's the direction, and we've changing quite a bit the way we approach. Previously, it was really, we really worked with people who are supposed to, we were teachers of the teachers, like yourself.
Mhm.
And right before this call, we were discussing how like you're a coach and you're becoming more holistic coach. So
Yep.
that was our market predominantly, and the few very specific souls that we needed to activate. Now we're opening up to anyone and everyone, and entry point is anything. Before, the only entry point was you have to go through our course to start, and after that you go through specific modules. Now, since this new software Matrix V6 has installed, we are being given the carte blanche to start wherever with whoever that comes to our field, as an example. So we knew that back in August, September, but the energy wasn't really there because it was end of a big cycle, the 9-year cycle. Then there's a bunch of other cycles that overlap. So the energy was really about further cleansing yourself and integrating the work that has been done over a past. There is like a 9-year cycle, then there is, I think, 18-year cycle, then there is a 36-year cycle, and there is a 3,000 something year cycle. There's so many cycles, and right now many of them aligned into this time of ending the cycles and beginning new cycles. That's why we're going to see so many transformations. So as a result, September to end of December, I barely done anything work related. And it's not really work because now every day is a holiday. I do what I love. And but in moments I was like, there was still the mind was like, what the fuck you've been doing? Like, there are people that were interested to start working with us. I'm like, man, I don't feel like talking to them, you know? And I was like, what are you doing, dude? And but that was just the energy. So why fight the current energy? So now I'm consciously being like, yeah, I can do some stuff that's related to that energy, but what would I want to do related to this? Well, right now the energy is of shedding, transformation, and integration. So let me max that out. As a result, I ended up spending 2.5 months more or less in bed because I went super super focused on that, and wasn't necessarily a pleasant experience, but allowed me, because there was so much energy in the field, predisposition for that, allowed me to transform drastically in a very short period of time. So it's like you catch the right wave and you ride it, and now we're entering new wave. And like, for example, since December 21st, I've been working on a website and writing. It was easy. It's just like I spend an hour here, an hour there. It's just flowing. And by the way, for me, writing was never really my thing. Like, I can write, but it's like I'm more about speaking.
Mhm.
And so it previously was very energetically draining. Now I did it in such a like dancing, playing way. And then like out of nowhere, I have like ours is now probably 15-page document with content for the website, which is like, for me, writing 15 pages was like, holy fuck. And then I send it to my partners. They're like, whoa, this is really well done. I was like, oh, thank you. So yeah.
Do you find, um, as you look back on the journey for yourself, right? Because this was just popping into my mind. Do you think people that knew the version of Nikolai from 10 years ago and they hear that you've been in bed for 2 months, do you think they say, like, "Who the fuck is this?"
Oh yeah, they'd say like something's wrong with you. You're crazy. You lost it or whatever. And even like I would share it with people. They like literally would give me. They would be very concerned and would give me a strange look. And I was like, well, guys, that was in a highest alignment for me. But in the moment, they think, oh, something's wrong with me. Now that I come out of this cycle and I'm like full of energy and I'm like, wow, the depths of happiness I'm experiencing now is like next level. It finally flipped because what I realized, it's interesting. I had this moment. I was driving my convertible to go do my regular enjoyable drive around Boca Bay. We have here for the viewers, listeners, UNESCO protected, very stunning bay surrounded by mountains. It's called a southern fjord of Adriatic. It's like basically fjords in Norway or Finland, whatever. We have it here in Montenegro. It's super stunning with beautiful Venetian, Byzantine villages along the coast. So I go on that drive and I'm driving. And usually I would get this joy from the car. It's like I really picked out that car and I enjoy that car. It's a convertible. It has a lot of horsepower and the views. And what I've observed, I was getting barely any energy from that. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I started noticing the joy was coming from inside, not from outside. And I'm like, wow, now I don't it doesn't matter if I'm driving my convertible and if there is a UNESCO protected fjord around me. I'm just have a joy that's flowing out from me no matter where I am, what I am, what I have, what I don't have, and etc. And I was like, it was amazing. But then I was a little bit like, yeah, I kind of sad that I don't like my car anymore. So for a moment, that's what I thought. Where we going? It's just gonna all come from outside. But then a few weeks later, as more integration happened on the work I've done on myself, I started enjoying the stuff on outside as well. So it started combining. So it comes from within, and I started enjoying the car again. And what it was teaching me, the foundational happiness and joy is within, but we're loaded, our souls, our consciousness loaded to these bodies so we can experience additional joy from the material world, which we don't have access to when we're in pure state of consciousness. So it gets magnified even further, but it can only get magnified further when we've actually figured out how to harness our inner light and really light it up. Whereas before, what happens, it's flipped. It creates this subconscious behavior. Oh, until I get this convertible, until I purchase that convertible, I cannot enjoy that drive around the fjord. So I would be driving another nice car like Land Rover, and I'd be like, I wish it was a fucking convertible, and you're not enjoying it. So the
Mm.
the first foundational basic state, I'm already happy. I have all the energy I need. And then when you start adding up all the material, it just takes it to the next level. And that's I was blown away by that experience. And that's tying back together when you align with the cycles. Like I spent in bed 2.5 months and my friends looked at me strange. Even my sister looked at me strange a bit and was like, wow, what's going on with that dude? Like she was going through her own intense processes, but not as intense. And then like now as I'm coming out of that, it's still integrating all that work. There's so much work has been done that there were like a couple months of integrating after. Uh, as I'm coming out of that, I was like, this state is like I can't even describe it with words right now. I'm trying my best to describe it practically how it feels,
Yeah.
but it's spectacular. So that's why it's so important to align with natural cycles. Everything then becomes easy. You do transformations when you're supposed to do transformations. You do creation and creativity when you're supposed to do creation and creativity. And then it's because and that's an example of the whole nature, the whole planet, the whole matrix is helping you.
Do you think sometimes certain things happen because, like, now is the energy that's ready for it? And we could even have things that, or for example, modalities, and I'll be specific here, but we could have modalities that
We become ready
maybe
for.
they're actually shifting things, or maybe it's just that they allow our brains to have faith that they're shifting. Like, to give you a more concrete example, like before we were talking about where I had this business constellation, and up until that time, the energy was very stagnant. Nothing's really moving. Also, because I'm not fully committed, I'm hesitant about what's going on. I'm unsure. There's no clarity. And then we get to the point where that constellation happens and then things start moving. So, was it that this was Matrix way of holding me off from taking action until more energies were aligned? Or would it be something that, well, my system needed to have faith, and so therefore, really, the modality, the constellation, whatever you're using, was just about allowing me to be congruent with having the faith to be able to move forward, and then using that as an
Yeah,
energetic
excellent
source.
question. It's both. So, and the way it works, so there is a big cycle, energetic cycle, planetary, cosmic, whatever you want to call it, whatever terminology, that's
Yeah.
pushing you in a specific direction. And for you to succeed in that direction, you need to do inner work. And your avatar and your personality and identity, let's say, chooses to do that work. So you do the work, you try one modality, second modality, this meditation, blah, blah, blah. And then it comes to the end and you've done enough work and it clicks in. Another avatar, being impacted by the same energy, chooses to be stuck. Very like hold on with all his strengths or her strengths to the current life. No, I don't want to change. I want my career to be the same, even though I hate my job. And like, and then that wave ends and they went through washing cycle and a lot of hardship and suffering because they were resisting that energy per se. And
Mhm.
there's no output. So, and we've seen, because for me it was like, there was a moment where I was like, well, I guess you can't really fuck up in this matrix. Because I was like surrounded by people who were like doing well in their evolutionary process, meaning like, you know, they somehow navigate crazy hardships, they survive. And but then I realized it was a called selection bias. Like, for example, Maxime, his life was hardcore, he survived and he's in a great place. So I guess everybody can survive. But then I started observing some avatars who don't really survive, like literally either physically or psychologically or whatever. And and that's why we've touched on. I think there is a not I think there is a podcast where we talk about the big souls or advanced souls load into multiple avatars to gather as much experience as possible, and some avatars don't really get through the program for the experience they're trying to get through. It has been challenging. With that said, um, now the environment, the whole energetic space of the planet is becoming more pure, so it's going to be easier to figure out where up and down is. That's where we're seeing so much awakening among people, where they don't buy bullshit of the media anymore. But and on the flip side, also the government stopped even caring to cover things up. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go pick up a president of another country, who cares? And that's what I want. I just want oil.
Perfect segue. Let's go into that, because this was
Yeah,
where I wanted to round things off.
yeah.
Because and this is what I was gonna say. So my question is, okay, so what energetic shifts have you noticed recently? Especially because politically, it seems actions lately seem more overt than covert. It's like what you're saying. Like, it seems like the filter, the tapestry, the performance, the theatrics, it's really gone by the wayside. I mean, it's like,
Yeah. No more budget for theatrical set.
yeah, it's almost like, well, screw the CGI, screw this. We're just going to keep it bare bones, and it's just what you see on the tin is what it is. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? We need some fucking oil. We're going to go take out the guy. Yeah, those international rule-based order, they really just apply to us. So suck it, everybody. I mean, so why is it that things seem more transparent than ever, yet people seem also, or a subsection of people seem more brainwashed than ever?
Hmm.
Tell me about that
It's a
one.
very multi-layer question. So
Yeah.
number one, vibration of the planet is increasing. Higher vibration, you cannot. Truth is high vibration. Lie is low vibration. The higher vibration, the more truth has to come out everywhere. Within the key, of course, player is the person. So hence, Donald is just being truthful. I want oil, and I'll take short path to oil. And as an example, our Russian podcast is named Apocalypse,
Mhm.
which basically means, if you, and it's, the word is misunderstood, people think it's the end of the world. In reality, it's end of the darkness. What it means, everything that is hidden has to come to the surface. If you look at etymology of the word, that's what basically it means. It's the end of darkness. So
Mhm.
the light is coming in, and increasing vibration, if you really look at it from the standpoint of your physics, more energy, more light, more energy. So more light, more energy, you cannot hide anymore. Everything has to come to the surface. The part of some people are awakening and some people are getting even more brainwashed. It's basically we're going through so-called separation. I think in spirituality there's another word that everybody talks about. I can't remember right now in English. So there is a separation. People who choose to go into the light, into high vibration, into the truth. That's going to be one batch of people and souls that are attached to those people. And another one are basically trying to hold on to their status, to their material wealth, and etc. I think there's a quote somewhere from Bible how a person tries to go through the opening in a needle on a camel, and uh, the concept of that, if you're trying to go into a new high vibrational world of truth and light and a lot of energy, you cannot bring your fucking baggage there. So, and what's a lot of what we're observing energetically in a lot of governments, either it's Trump or Vladimir or whoever, they're like, because they have the whole departments that are in charge of astrology, energies, and etc. Like they're super tuned in. They're like, we know transition is happening. How the fuck do I go through transitional while staying a president? While keeping my power, my status, my influence. But that power, that status, whatever, was never naturally acquired. That was acquired through a bunch of V5 matrix schemes involving some other civilizations and etc. etc. So you cannot get through the needle, through the opening of the needle on your camel. You have to cleanse yourself. You have to shed if you want to transition to that. So part of people are wanting and willing to transition and are doing the work. So that's why, as part of this shading transitioning, in the moment, it might feel like you're losing all the material, all the influence, all the power, all the status in a reality. Whereas in reality, you're just losing all the illusionary stuff. And the real power, influence, in a constructive version of power, influence, whatever you want to call it, you first of all you stop caring about it, but it comes from your alignment, because then you become happy. The superpowers within you, which are also in Indian Vedic culture called siddhis, get activated, where you can heal people, you can see things, you can blah blah blah. Your intuition goes through the roof, right? Those are the real powers that activate, that make you sovereign. You start creating things. People love what you're creating because you're creating it from a place of joy and happiness, and they want to experience that state. So by buying your service or by buying your product, either it's bread or some kind of a trinket that you put on a wall, like a painting or a little thing, and it's filled with joy, by buying that, they're actually buying the state of happiness. So there is a big separation happening right now, and people are choosing to transform. Some people are trying to sneak through to that with on their camels, but the way energetically it's structured, it's impossible. There's another factor that is happening that is making people's life very rough. I think it's also in the Bible. It says, and I'm quoting a Bible. Bible has been heavily also misinterpreted and distorted as was rewritten, overwritten, blah blah blah, whatever it is. But there is a lot of first of all, there is a lot of technical esoterics and metaphysics. There is a lot of technical things how to awaken, and then there is a lot of pragmatic and very powerful things how to become a good person if you filter out all the interpretation bullshit. Another one was where it talks about the judgment day. You will be judged the way you judge others, something along those lines. Once again, I'm butchering it, but that's the meaning. What it means is the energy you still have within you will either allow you to expand or kill you. So the karmic energy or whatever other energy we carry right now, what's happening, it's magnifying like 10-100x, because the beauty of V5 matrix was, because it was an evolutionary skull, you load in and you can fuck up a lot of times, because the karmic loop, and I shouldn't call it the karmic loop, the feedback loop between your inharmonious action and you receiving a slap or kick was like very delayed and buffered, because the vibration was low. What is low vibration? Slow moving energy. And there was a low density of energy on the planet. Now the density increased and vibration increased since everything accelerated. And for the past year with you, we were talking how news cycle is crazy now. Every day, like there's, I don't know, we were chatting about this in the summer. There was like one major event. Now I feel like there are 7 major events every day. And so where I'm
Oh yeah.
going with this, the buffer has been, the buffer between your action and the feedback loop has been decreasing very rapidly. And we started seeing with our clients, with friends and people around. I'll give you an example. A person we were working with, her eyes started swelling. And she's like, what the fuck is going on? She knew there's something she needed to understand because it's psychosomatics. And this is a great example. She was not willing to see what the matrix was offering to her and was like resisting it. So if you don't want to see, the eyes swell and they get red and swell, and it was like real, like it was pretty bad. So previously you needed to resist the matrix for like 5 months, a year or whatever to start having some kind of eye problems. Now for her it happens in like within days, if not hours. And this is what's going to start. Was chatting with another person, similar thing with health. So where I'm going with this, health will be heavily impacted by for everyone on this planet, because there are 3 levels how it impacts you: take away money, take away health, or create problems for your close ones like relatives and people close to you. The ultimate one is your health, but also that's one scale. But then there is another scale where it goes directly to your health, because V5 matrix energy is decreasing, plus the buffer is disappearing because of the speed of energy and the density of energy. You go right away from like being angry to being hit on in your stomach or your liver or whatever. Like there is a psychosomatics where the anger is stored. So that's another thing that's unfolding. So just an insight for everyone: if you start having random problems with your health that you've never had, this is an indication you have to deal with something. And now at least finally people will be pushed into understanding how this matrix and how this planet works. Because previously you could have been like, you've done something that was not harmonious. 2 years later, you had your eyes swollen for 2 days. There's no linkage. You're like, it's just I got eye infection because I don't know, I was petting a cat and then I was rubbing my eye. That was the conclusion, right? You took some drops, took some pills, and moved on with your life. So tying it back to separation, part of the planet, sticking around on this planet, and this planet as part of the solar system. Solar system, we can call it a spaceship, because it's literally, people forget this whole thing is flying through universe, right?
Yeah.
It's moving. And I'll include also a link to, there is a great visualization of that that I found on X, that I'll include that link where it shows how it's actually moving. And then you start realizing, wow, we're actually right now on a spaceship and it's moving fast. This system is moving towards the central sun of the universe, which means it's towards what we call Big Bang or singularity, the highest density of energy, highest vibration of the energy. So the closer the solar system moves there, the higher vibration is here. So, and it will only support high vibration beings. So that separation, whoever is doing work on themselves and like put up a hand, I really want to stick around on this planet. You know, I think it's a beautiful, like, I believe it's a stunning planet, stunning nature with so much cool stuff that can be done here. And this is a separate conversation talking about the nature. It is actually unique in the whole universe because it's like basically it's like an archive of flora and fauna from almost every corner of the universe. At some specific point in time of evolution of this universe, it was actually a let's call it a not national but a universal park of flora and fauna collected from all over, of life collected, of different civilizations and etc. from all over the universe. So that's why it's so unique. So I choose to stick around here. Some people are like, fuck this, I want to retain my status and I want to continue playing the games of like um, savior and a victim and a villain and a leader and this, and I wanna run a country. They gonna move out from this planet to another planet which matches to in a sector of universe that matches the vibrational level of their evolutionary development. So that's that separation that you've seen. So the ones that are going crazier and crazier, they basically chose to go elsewhere. They want to stay in low vibration. And it's going to become more and more obvious. Like literally it will feel like the planet will like crack in two. And like we still don't fully understand the mechanics, how the final separation will happen. Like either these avatars that are low vibe will just like die out, which is already, by the way, happening. I'm observing like one thing I'm observing on Instagram feed. Previously, if I would get like an Instagram post of somebody famous dying, that was maybe like once every 3 months. Now I get 3 to 5 a day on some days. And then as an example of some avatars, they're not handling the high vibe, exit. So that might be mechanic, and the mechanic might be different. Some are sticking around, some are not sticking around, and everybody has a choice. They choose, and that's why we see this extremes right now.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense because I was just noting how there does seem to be such a unique transparency about the world. I mean, as so far as governments are willing to be transparent, but it does seem that if you have your eyes open,
It's
you're
all on the
able to see a
surface.
lot of
Everything
things
is
that
on
you
the
could never
surface.
see before.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Well, and
so,
another reason they're just where the planet is, they can't hide, even if they try to hide. And it's like hilarious. I was watching something, this whole fraud case in Minnesota, the
oh yeah, yeah,
Somalians like printing like just stealing money, well, through
yeah.
Somalians, I think politicians or whoever is behind them stealing money, right? And they were interviewing this one of the managers of these daycare centers, and she like straight up said it's like fraud, like kind of Freudian slip. And then she got so worried she couldn't continue speaking, and she just walks off from the microphone. She's just like, screw this, and walks away, realize how badly she screwed up. Like, even when a person is speaking, like the matrix is not even allowing them to lie as much as previously. They just like, oh, how did I say? And there was like so many examples of that, like Joe Biden, like straight up saying what it is. It's like greeting what Zelensky as if he's Putin or something like that, and like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean even there was I was just watching something where I think it was the US ambassador to the UN straight up saying, "Well, we can't have other people in our hemisphere taking the energy that we need, right? So we're going to take I mean, it's just tell telling it like it is,
Yeah.
which again, just from my viewpoint and the times that I grew up in, no politician would ever say what they're really doing. And now it does seem like they're being more, I'm not saying that what they're doing is good, but they're being more honest about it. Again, because I think something like you said about the Matrix doesn't even allow them to necessarily lie about it. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
And that's, by the way, what's we've talked previously a little bit about how the old world will collapse. That's what's making it collapse, because people are starting to realize everything has been fake.
Yeah.
Like the calendar has been fake. The government has been lying to us about everything. Like seemingly we should be paying our taxes towards healthcare, roads, and like some infrastructure in reality it's going into the pockets, some of them going to Somalians, some of going to Democrats, some are, it's like they're basically robbing people. So it's like lower and middle class working day in day out to subsidize corrupt politicians, and the corruption is all the same everywhere because it's all fractal. You cannot be, oh, Ukraine is so corrupt and US is not corrupt, we're righteous and we're democracy. I'd say US is more corrupt than Ukraine. Ukraine at least barely hides it because they don't have time to put on the facade, right? So it's all coming out, and that's why the system just is dissipating. Like
The
fiat, it's not real money, it's just printed paper. Now it's not
yeah,
even
and
printed, it's just a digit on a computer.
the best one that I just saw recently was, and you'll appreciate this, having your ties to Canada. The former finance minister of Canada.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So imagine this. This is where you it's like you can't make this stuff up. It's almost like a tragedy of comedic tragedy. You have the finance minister of Canada, former finance minister, who's making the money printer go burr, printing all the cash, sending all that cash
Bankrupted
to
Canada.
bankrupt Canada, sending all the cash, big chunks of it to Ukraine.
Billions and billions to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Per capita, Canada donated the most money out of all countries.
Oh yeah.
Did you? Yeah, it's crazy.
And
Donated or
then
whatever, stole.
later on, resurrects the new political career, being now the finance minister or
Financial
economic minister.
advisor for economic development of Ukraine or something like that.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm going to steal the money from this country. I'm going to send it to another country. And then I'm going to go work for that other country.
I'm going to go pick it up on
Yeah.
the other end. Yeah. And now because they issued another 2.5 something billion. And by the way, this is the money of Canadians. And whereas at the same time, I just saw in the news, people are dying being in the wait lines for the medical procedures that they need. So rather than spending 2.5 billion buying more MRIs, CTs, building more surgery rooms, whatever it is, no, it's just going into private pockets and the war and whatever. And you don't have a say because you're like, oh, I'm not willing to pay taxes because you're sending them somewhere. And I'm not really experiencing any benefit out of that. So, and that's why I think as people are waking up, they're moving to other countries where at least you don't pay as high of a tax, or like they're starting to realize they got to become more sovereign.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's it for this week. I definitely feel like we need to do an episode on taxation, and we need to do an episode on the medical systems worldwide, because you are uniquely positioned to speak about that, and I'd love to deep dive that through the eyes of the Matrix as well. So
it would be great actually in the next episode to speak about the medical and healthcare and the reason, interestingly, how everything is synchrony, because a lot of stuff we're launching on our website and services will be health related. Because of what I've described, most people will start experiencing health issues they haven't experienced before. Yeah. And it's going to be a real crunch, and the system won't help. The so-called modern healthcare system was designed for other purposes. So we should have a separate in-depth dive into that.
Okay. Looking forward to it. I will see you next week then.